Joining me on the podcast today is Mr. Garrett Tucker from HoopSeen. He is your number one sports guy for high school basketball here in the state of Alabama. Garrett, thank you for coming on the show. For people who may not know, you want to elaborate a little bit further on what HoopSeen is and what your role is there?
Yeah, Skylar, I appreciate you having me on. So for those that aren't aware, HoopSeen, we're an event operator based in the Southeast, just outside Atlanta, host several tournaments and events throughout the calendar year. Basically, from March to July is our busy season with tournaments. So some of those are live period events where college coaches can come out, and then also there are non-live events that are very prestigious. Most notably, the Bob Gibbons Tournament of Champions. Bob Gibbons is a big scouting name, one of the first scouts that kind of started what we do nowadays, I guess. But yeah, we just do tournaments, also do camps. We're actually in the middle of camp season right now. So just giving people an opportunity to be seen in front of reputable eyes and kind of tell those stories. And that's kind of our motto at HoopSeen. We like to tell the stories that players write and let them kind of start their own story, so to speak.
So, how did you get your start covering high school basketball?
It's a long, and I could probably talk about it for for hours. And I like to say it kind of found me essentially. Um, Best way to put it is I grew up a big Kentucky basketball fan, um, and I wanted to find a way to kind of. And let me back up to my growing up, one of my goals was to be in the NBA. And obviously, I knew I wasn't going to be that as a player. I wasn't a bad player by any means, but we just kind of figure out those only those 1% are in the NBA. So I wanted to find a way to kind of find that guy, next guy before anybody else did. And so I was a Kentucky fan, and so essentially I started writing for a blog covering recruiting for Kentucky. It's called nationofblue.com, still around today. But so I would essentially call kids if they were getting recruited by Kentucky, just kind of do stories on them essentially. And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I'm on the road actually getting down scouting and everything. So that was kind of how it started, just from me as a storyteller. Um, I remember calling Nerlens Noel, Julius Randle, Gary Harris. I mean, there's just a lot of those guys um, that I got to talk to on the phone. And now it's like, hey, they're in the NBA. It's pretty cool.
Back when you were younger, when you were covering Kentucky basketball, did you ever consider possibly going into college basketball recruiting?
To be honest, what I really wanted to at first, I was going the agent angle. That I figured, hey, if I talk to these guys, it'll give me a chance to kind of connect the dots with a lot of people, and I have. But it just wasn't meant in the cards for me as far as the agency deal goes. But to say that what I'm doing now, I don't think I would have envisioned that 10 years ago, and it's pretty crazy. I've been in it for 10 years now. I remember it. So my first event I went to, I was a senior in high school, quit baseball my senior year to go out on the road, cover basketball recruiting. But the first event, that first weekend, I thought we had a big senior day deal. And I skipped school so that I could go to Augusta where they have Peach Jam at. It wasn't Peach Jam, but an event at that same venue. So yeah, I missed my big senior day event to go cover basketball.
Man, that's dedication to the sport right there.
Yeah, it's something else, that's for sure. But it's the best decision I've ever made.
So we mentioned that you have spent time at HoopSeen, but you were also with Marquee Hoops a little bit. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this past probably I think it was February up until the past few weeks. I was the director of scouting at Marquee Hoops. Really enjoyed that. Got to do a little bit different deal. Was on the West Coast a lot. Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Phoenix. Excuse me. Just got to see a different kind of player. Different. It's different out there. Um, it was refreshing, but and also getting out there, meeting new people, seeing new players. It was really good for me. Something that I'll cherish. That I think it made me a better person and more well connected across the country. So, but it was basically the same thing, just watching a little bit of ball, telling people stories, so kind of depicting who was good, and going from there. So I'm excited to get back to hoop scene though. As you kind of said, more. I'm not going to be just constricted to Alabama. I'm going to do a national deal still, but definitely I like to give back to those in Alabama. Try and spotlight those guys that deserve it, because you know how it is. We're known as a football state. Don't necessarily get the basketball love that we deserve, but we've got some basketball players here too.
We both know there was a diamond in the rough in South Carolina, and I just want to know if you want to go ahead and take credit for Ja Morant being found now or later. What's the story there? I know you found him in a back gym. He got in touch with Murray State. There was a note on a napkin involved. What's the deal there?
Yeah, so you'll actually know, you'll appreciate this. So a few years ago, I think it was 2016. We had our Alabama Elite Preview Camp. It was in the spring then. We've transitioned to the fall now. But it was in the spring before AAU season. And Tevin Brown came to it, who was a star at Murray State. I think he got drafted by the Pacers. Should be playing with them. But Tevin was really, really good. Had a really good high school season. It was the first time I'd got a chance to see him. And his dad brought him up and just played really, really well. And so in the recruiting game, at least as far as I'm concerned, you got those couple of guys that no matter what event you're at, how good it is, they're going to call and ask, say, hey, how was it? So my good friend, one of my best friends in the coaching profession, James Kane, he gave me a call that afternoon. It's like, hey, who was good? Who do I need to be on? And so one of those was Tevin Brown. So I told him about Tevin, sent him his number that night. He started recruiting him from the beginning of March, got the deal done in July, and the rest is history. So needless to say, he was recruiting Tevin throughout the spring and summer. I think it's the first weekend of the live period in July that year. There was a combine on a Wednesday night in South Carolina, Spartanburg. Adidas had a big deal, had their big championship from Thursday to Saturday or Sunday, and a couple of other little tournaments that area. And so the whole Ja Morant deal being found in the back gym. So I was with Kane that day actually, and I was walking with him when he went to go get some chips, and he stepped in and said, "Hey, who's that guy?" And to be honest with you, I didn't even pay any attention, wasn't really worried about it. And then I got to figuring it out, and I was like, okay, I do know who that is. We had saw Ja at Bob Gibbons probably a month or two before. Um, so needless to say, he started recruiting Ja, following him that week. And so I don't know, I don't remember if it was that Wednesday night or the following night, Thursday night. But he had called Matt McMahon, who's now the head coach at LSU, was at Murray State at the time. I was like, hey, you need to come to Spartanburg and see this kid. And so Matt got in that evening or that night. Never will forget it. We go to where do we go? To Outback in Spartanburg. We're eating, got the whole bloomin' onion right there. It's me, McMahon, and Kane, and the whole proverbial note on a napkin or a plan on a napkin. And he just changes his whole July plans. And follows Ja Morant around, and they ultimately get it done. So that's one of my cool things. I get this. I've seen a lot of cool stuff, but that's definitely been right up there as far as like, wow. I knew Ja was good. Did I think he would be what he is now? I'd be lying if I said that he would, or that I thought he would. But it's crazy to think that, one, a bag of chips essentially changed his life and the whole line. He goes on to Murray State's a star and lottery pick. A lot of stuff have to fall in line right for that things like that to happen. So
You obviously have an eye for talent. What goes into scouting a player? What is it about a player that makes you go, yeah, he's got it?
well, I'll kind of be cliche with it. The Warriors have changed a lot. The whole Warrior deal, where the 3-and-D type. So that's basically what people are looking for now. It's trickled down all the way from NBA to the college, to even the high school game now. I mean, you see a lot of analytics into it, but so obviously, if I call a coach, a lot of 95%, the first thing they're gonna say or ask is, can he shoot it? And that I hate that question because yes, they can shoot it, but it's a difference between a shooter and a maker. But obviously, shooting's big into it. Um, I'm a big dribble pass shoot guy. You got to be skilled, be a triple threat, all the things like that. And then obviously you throw in the intangibles like athleticism, speed, agility, length. It's easy to see who's going to be a 5-star guy, and play at the Auburns, Alabamas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke. That's easy, but it gets really fun whenever you dig down into it, and you're like, okay, this guy right here, he can go to a Belmont or a Samford, or something like that, and potentially bust some brackets in a few years. So that's the fun deal that goes behind it. Um, and obviously, with each position, there's different things that you look for. But I would say right now, shooting and basketball IQ, those are, and ability to guard, those are the main things that I look for right now.
Well, I was certainly no big time D1 basketball recruit or prospect or anything, but we met while I was in high school, and I went to some HoopSeen events and showcases and whatnot. What's your quick scouting report on me?
I would say you qualify for the dribble pass shoot, skilled, always a triple threat. Definitely could shoot it. So I actually think you had that's how I found out about you, because you had a big game, hit a bunch of threes, and I was like, oh, I need to go watch corner play. And I think you played somewhere up towards Coleman. I don't remember who it was. Became a watch you during the high school season late that year. So yeah, that's what I would say. You're definitely a dribble pass shoot guy.
So who really started the 3-and-D then? The Warriors or the Corner Yellow Jackets? Y'all let us know in the comments below.
There you go.
No, but what are some high school basketball events or showcases coming up that you're really excited for?
So this past weekend, we had one of my favorite events as far as hoop scene events go. We had our elite preview. Now it's kind of designated for underclassmen, and it's a select few. We kind of send out invitations. Smaller. I didn't get the chance to go, but from everything I heard, it was really well. And then this weekend, we've got our open fall preview for Georgia. I actually think you came to that one too. So that'll be this coming weekend, this Sunday. Excited to get over there, see that. As far as the high school season goes, one of my favorite events throughout the year is you got the holiday hoops giving in Atlanta. Chris Williams always does a good job of bringing in a lot of talent nationally. But I'm a big fan of the Lighthouse Classic in Corinth, Mississippi. Corinth, Mississippi, for those that don't know, it's not very big, but they get some teams to come in there. They've got some prep schools, and then also just teams locally, whether it be Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi. It's a great atmosphere. Put it in perspective for people. I mean, I don't know how long it's been. It's been around almost 10 years, I would say. And so up until probably I think it was 2020, the COVID year, I missed the Iron Bowl. every year. So I missed the kick six, everything like that. Missed some great stuff just to go watch some basketball in Corinth, Mississippi. But like I said, wouldn't change it. Could go to the cafeteria and watch a little bit of the Iron Bowl. But yeah, that's my favorite. And then there's plenty of, Thanksgiving, Christmas tournaments to kind of get everybody, see where they're at, going into the new year, area play, and then eventually into the playoffs.
Everybody wants to know who the best players are in the state of Alabama. Opinions may vary. It may be this guy. Somebody might have this guy at one. Who, in your opinion, are, let's say, top three, top five seniors in the state of Alabama?
Um, well, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I hate rankings, to be honest with you, just because they're subjective. I could like somebody, and then you could not. You could like somebody else. That doesn't mean we're wrong. It just kind of depends on what we like. I'm a big John Broome fan. He was great, helping lead them to a state championship last year at Jacksonville. So he's committed to South Alabama. He'll be signing here in a few weeks. I think that's a bit. He should have a really nice career. He's 6'6", 6'7", can shoot it. Great passer. So I like him a lot. And then another one, R.J. Johnson from Grissom. He committed to Alabama probably about a month ago, I guess now. He had a really big July, really showed that he can shoot it, score it. He's so dang big. Excuse me. He's going to be hard to handle, get in the paint. Defense is really going to have a problem with him. So those two right there would probably be the top guys in my opinion right now. But this is my favorite time of the year. You get these guys that nobody knows anything about, and they can come in for, like you said, that 3, 4, 5 spot, and really get after it and make a name for themselves.
Well, kind of playing along with that question, what are some teams that excite you the most this year?
Um, there's a lot of talented teams this year, as usual, as in every year. I'm going to say Huntsville. I'm really excited to see how they do in 7A. They've got Jamari Man Arnold, and then you throw in Nathan Harris, or I'm sorry, Caleb Harrison. And then Simon Walker transferred in from James Clemens. And they've got some really good young guys too. So I'm excited to see them. Obviously, their head coach Christian Swears is from the Bucky McMillan tree. So they're going to get after you. They're going to press. And then you kind of go into the Mountain Brooks with Ty Davis, Julius Clark. They're going to be really talented. But I'm really excited to see Coleman too. They were kind of a Cinderella last year, winning the 6A state title. They've had some players come in. So I'm excited to see them. Ramsey's always loaded with talent. Pinson Valley's got a good amount of young kids. And then you got to throw in the Thompsons and Hoovers. Hoover's got Salim London. He's a really good 2025 prospect. And then you go down south. I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, but you throw in Baker, Cottage Hill. I mean, there's a lot of talent, especially you get toward the Montgomery and further down, that just a lot of people don't know. Unless you're from that area. So those are some of the teams that I'm looking forward to. And hopefully get to see them early and often this year.
Garrett Tucker, he's your number one guy for all high school basketball in the state of Alabama. Garrett, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.